Oh, man. It's going down like Young Jock. This is crazy. The freaking free agency period, it just started. It just started today, and Angel Reese is already traded.
The WNBA had its first significant earthquake just hours after free agency opened. Before most fans had finished reading the new CBA details, the Chicago Sky traded Angel Reese to the Atlanta Dream. Chicago will receive 2 first-round selections. Reese is on his way to Atlanta. And a plot that has been developing for a whole season is the reason this occurred. Be truthful. Do you believe that the Atlanta Dream's trade for Angel Reese was a wise one? Or did they just inherit Chicago's problem? Leave a comment with your thoughts. Before any analysis is even necessary, let's start with the trade facts, which convey a very distinct story.
The first domino, the first major trade. The Chicago Sky, they've traded 2-time All-Star Angel Reese to the Atlanta Dream. Taylor Brooks first reported this information, and Kendra Andrews.
Chicago is selected in the first round in both 2027 and 2028. Angel Reese and a 2028 second-round pick are traded to Atlanta. The deal is that the first thing that any knowledgeable basketball watcher should notice about those terms is that the Sky were given 2 first-round selections in exchange for a 22-year-old player who is still on her rookie contract and had appeared in 2 straight All-Star games. For players they consider to be short-term fixes or deteriorating assets, teams do not give up 2 first-round selections. Genuine organizational belief that the player being acquired can help you compete at a meaningful level is demonstrated by 2 first-round picks. It's obvious that Atlanta thinks Reese can accomplish that. Last season, they went 30-14. They are not a rebuilding squad trying to amass wealth. They are a competitive squad that believed Reese was worth paying 2 first-round picks to acquire. Atlanta thereby wins that portion of the assessment. They found a player they trusted and bought her with real money. It's far more involved than a typical player movement. Therefore, let's now discuss why Chicago is willing to make this trade.
Angel Reese boldly and competitively called out the Chicago Sky for how they would move forward in terms of needing talent if they were going to compete, saying that she wanted to be a part of the organization and she wanted to compete at a high level. It didn't go over so well, Jay, in the public eye domain, at least as far as Chicago brass was concerned, and she actually ended up being suspended for a half a game. There seemed to be sort of breadcrumbs that perhaps this organization was not prepared for her vocalness and her
Angel Reese was selected to 2 All-Star teams. She shattered the WNBA record most rebounds in a single season. During her first 2 seasons, she was one of the league's most talked about players. Talked about frequently, though not usually for basketball-related reasons. These are not the qualifications of a player that a team should be willing to trade for draft picks during her rookie deal.
And watching the bottom of your screen. The contact by Reese.
And yet, here we are. This deal was made possible by Chicago Sky general manager Jeff Pagliuca. According to reports, he was done with Angel Reese well before the actual start of free agency. Moving her was not a response to a particular incident. It was the culmination of a pattern that the entire basketball world witnessed emerge over the second half of last season.
Sky organization last season after she later apologized for that and had a brief suspension.
The most prominent documented moment in this story is the behavior that led to the team's suspension. Reese warmed up for a game, was supposed to play in the second half, but when her number was called, she wouldn't go in. After that, she didn't play for the rest of the season. A back injury was the explanation given. Why a player with a back injury serious enough to keep her from playing professional basketball for the remainder of a WNBA season was seen on a private jet traveling to Las Vegas practically immediately after the season ended, seemingly in no apparent distress, was the question that emerged and has never been satisfactorily addressed. There was a credibility issue with the image. It's not because anyone can identify an injury from a picture, but rather because it's hard to reconcile the situation's optics. Refusing to play because of an ailment and then seeming healthy and joyous only hours before the season ends, in a way that fosters organizational trust. Additionally, roster decisions are based on the trust that exists between a player and the front office. Everything was made worse by the size of the changing room. According to reports, Reese made remarks about Courtney Vandersloot that were interpreted as derogatory regarding Vandersloot's age and significance. Vandersloot, a respected veteran with a long career and true reputation in the player community, responded publicly. That is hardly a scenario that goes unnoticed. The environment in the locker room has already deteriorated beyond repair when a seasoned player with Vandersloot's reputation feels compelled to react on camera to anything stated by a younger teammate. Ariel Atkins expressed her frustration in public. According to reports, some players were dissatisfied with the surroundings. And the Chicago front management, watching all of this unfold, made a decision that moving Angel Reese for 2 first-round picks was a better conclusion for the club than continuing to manage the dilemma she represented. A team must do this in order to sign a 2-time All-Star to a rookie contract. It's not an assessment of basketball. It is an assessment of culture and character. And Chicago's decision was that the return, 2 first-round picks, and a fresh roster situation was worth more than whatever the prolonged presence of Angel Reese could provide. Stephen A. Smith chipped in and said he was extremely glad for Reese, pointing out that the Sky had been a terrible performing team and that Atlanta affords her a true winning environment. He called her a glue piece, gave her praise for averaging 14 points and 12 rebounds per game, and said the people of Atlanta will accept her nature. That is a generous reading of a situation that is more complex than the initial appraisal indicates. This is the problem with the Atlanta Dream scenario. Last season, they went 30-14. Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard are their perimeter scorers. Bria Jones is already on the roster. Reese's addition provides them a physical presence in the paint that opponents will need to take into consideration. The pieces around her in Atlanta are better than what she had in Chicago. The coaching scenario is distinct. The culture of the company is distinct. It is unclear if the actions that led to her termination in Chicago were unique to that setting or if they are transferable. Before committing 2 first-round picks, the Dream's front office probably found a satisfactory answer to that straightforward question. Companies don't trade 2 first-round picks unless they think they have evaluated the character issues and determined they can handle them. However, the complete picture of this circumstance becomes clear when it is compared to Caitlin Clark, and this comparison must be made since it is the most instructive contrast available. Clark is currently playing for the Indiana Fever in her 3rd season as a professional. She has never received a suspension. She has never declined to play a game. Her remarks have never prompted teammates to publicly defend their own honor. There has never been a trade discussion about her. The Fever had never considered the circumstances surrounding Caitlin Clark and decided that acquiring 2 first-round picks would be preferable to retaining her. The explanation is not that Clark is a perfect person or that her career has been without struggle. Last year, her season was cut short due to injuries. Some of her teammates weren't overly excited about her appearance. She has played in a competitive setting that has occasionally been antagonistic in ways unrelated to basketball. The organization has responded to all of that by building around her rather than moving her. A new training facility will cost the Indiana Fever $78 million, to T. Clark's express request. They are making Kelsey Mitchell their top free agent target. They are made to make the most of her contributions to the floor. When the key participant in the business has given them every incentive to continue growing, that is what a company does. Reese was given 2 seasons by Chicago. She created both individually noteworthy statistics and collectively difficult situations over those 2 seasons. The team determined that the first-round selections were more valuable than trying to figure out the second half of the equation. Reese responded on Twitter right away in a typical manner. Before the trade news was finalized, she revealed what had happened in Atlanta. That energy can be a show or a sincere eagerness for a new beginning. In any case, it shows that she views Atlanta as an opportunity rather than a result. For her future profession, such framing is most likely the best one. Whatever transpired, and this is how it turned out. The irony of the Fanbase situation is worth highlighting. It's likely true that a large number of quote Sky followers were simply fans of Angel Reese who would follow her to Atlanta. Additionally, it is exactly comparable to the finding that most Indiana Fever supporters are Caitlin Clark followers who would follow her anywhere if necessary. In the modern era, star-driven professional sports fandom looks like this. The franchise gains from having the player rather than the other way around, and people invest in players rather than franchises. The distinction is that the front office of the team Indiana created around Clark has never once questioned whether the investment was worthwhile. Over the past 2 years, Indiana has made financial decisions that all point to increasing Clark's prominence. The facility is worth $78 million. The search for Kelsey Mitchell. The 2026 season's championship frame. None of that looks like a company managing a challenging problem. It appears that the company received exactly what it anticipated and is increasing its bets. The scenario in Chicago appeared to be the opposite. And 2 first-round picks headed to the Sky's draft room is the outcome. Angel Reese is now a dream of Atlanta. ATL gains a tangible presence, a well-known brand, and a vibe that their target audience might actually love. To create anything new, Chicago receives draft capital. Before the opening bell, the WNBA's first significant free agency move of the new CBA era is already creating more talk than anyone anticipated. What Angel Reese does with the new beginning is the question at hand. Atlanta is a serious basketball city with real aspirations for success. In a competitive and well-established locker room, the behavior that terminated her time in Chicago will not be the same. In Atlanta, the responsibility that was lacking in Chicago will exist in a different way. The true tale of what this trade implies for her career will be revealed by how she reacts to that setting. In order to maintain roster balance, Chicago exchanged 2 first-round picks for a 2-time All-Star on a rookie contract. What transpired in that locker room over the previous season is summed up in that sentence. Reese now has a genuine team and a real opportunity in Atlanta. Please share your thoughts below, hit the like button, and subscribe to get updates as this free agency develops.